Hi, it's Mariah, and today I wanted to talk about why I personally hate the Leuchtturm 1917 journal. Now, for a disclaimer, let me say that I don't think that the Leuchtturm is a bad journal or that it sucks. I just think that it personally sucks for me and I hate it.
I'm meandering around this point here, but I'll get straight to it now so no one misinterprets my intention. I am not saying that the Leuchtturm is a bad piece of stationery. I am not saying that the art you make in it is not or cannot be good. I am not saying that I haven't loved the work that I put into this journal myself. It just does not suit my purposes as someone who has been journaling a long time and who expects a lot out of paper. I think that all of its features make it great for anyone who is starting out journaling, but they no longer make sense for me and my style. I've made a lot of art that I really love in this journal, but I will not be purchasing it again because 1, I do not feel as if the beginner's features are something that I need in every journal that I have, and 2, the paper quality did not stand up to my style of journaling. I use my journal very heavily and it did not stand up to heavy coloring, collaging, or writing. Examples to follow. I'll leave you with this quote from real life me.
And the paper quality, as someone who likes to go hard in their journal, is substandard. The paper test really speaks for itself. I compared this journal with the Lemome, the Archer and Olive notebook, and computer paper.
Now, these are the supplies that I used. I used whatever I had at hand, including a collection of Crayola Super Tips, Sharpies, highlighters. I later used zebra mild liners. I tried to use as robust a stationery collection as I could without using a bunch of expensive mediums that I myself could never afford. Now, I'm sure you're not a moron and you know how a pen test works, especially if you're familiar with the bullet journaling community, but I'll explain it to you just in case anyway. I sped it up and put it into these 4 quadrants because I have to watch these videos too, and I really can't stand to watch myself write for 10 minutes in succession on different pages. My handwriting is bad enough without me judging myself on it. I tested out each of these selections of pens, markers, and stationery tools all on my pages, on each page itself, and when I turned it over, I was able to see how much impression, bleed through, or ghosting was left. Obviously, there are certain mediums like the Sharpie that just eat through paper anyway, and that we can't expect that much of them, but what I found on some of these sheets of paper is that they didn't even stand up very well to the pencil or to just the plain Crayola Super Tip markers, which are designed for children. Since I color like a child anyway, I expect my paper to stand up to a child's marker. Anyway, I digress. I wrote the name of each pen in that pen. Then I scribbled a little bit, drew over itself a couple of times, and drew a line just to see how the paper would react to it. Now for the results. We'll start with computer paper because I'm basically treating this as my baseline. As you can see, much of the materials bled through the paper. You can see them clearly on the other side when I scribbled, and occasionally when I drew a line. You'll be able to see the Sharpie and my dry erase marker most clearly, but at times you can see even the Crayola markers and the mild liners through the page. This was to be expected, but still disappointing. Now to the Leuchtturm 1917 journal, which this should explain why I hate it. As you can see, when I tested the first line on the first side, you can see the lines of all of the mediums through the page. You can even see through the right side of the page the instructional materials that are on the other side of it. You can see quite clearly through, and it's not difficult. Now, let's talk about paper weight, shall we? The weight of paper is measured in GSM, which stands for grams per square meter. As an American, I have no idea what that means, but basically, computer paper is usually between 60 to 120 GSM. Anything higher than 160 GSM is considered cardstock. The Leuchtturm journal's pages are about 80 GSM, while the computer paper that I used probably was about 60. Now, I realize that at 80 GSM, it's natural for the paper to bleed. However, for $20, which is about how much the Leuchtturm costs in American dollars, I'm expecting a lot more of my paper, especially for $20! $20! Okay, sorry for my outburst. Let's say hi to Pepper.
How am I supposed to sit down now?
Now to the Lemome notebook, which was the notebook that I used before I bought my Leuchtturm notebook. The binding actually fell out partway through using this, which is why I will not be purchasing it again. However, the paper quality did stand up pretty okay. As you can see in this pen test, the heavier mediums like the Sharpie and the dry erase marker definitely bled through, but ghosting was less extreme than on the Leuchtturm. The Lemome paper is actually 120 GSM, which is actually in the upper range. These journals are about $25, usually regular price on Amazon. I bought 2 of these, the first which lasted me a whole 6 months, and the second which fell apart after about 3. At $25, I'd say that this is pretty good paper quality for this notebook. Those of you who follow Amanda Rach Lee religiously might remember that this was one of the winners of her Stationery Showdown video for journals. Had it not fallen apart, I would probably still be using this journal based on the price to paper quality ratio. And now, our final journal, the Archer and Olive. I held myself back from looking on the other side of this while I was working because I really wanted to surprise myself with the test results. I did not believe that it could be as good as everyone was saying it was online, but it's just as good, maybe even better. The only thing that you can see through on the other side of the page is the alcohol-based pens, which are the Sharpie and the dry erase marker. And those are just not meant for this type of paper, which I am slightly disappointed at, but to be expected. I'll let you hear for yourself what I thought of it here. Loud noise alert. What? What? Oh my god. So I am glad to say that I am thoroughly pleased with the Archer and Olive journal, and I'm really excited to begin working in it. Since it's definitely pricey, I wouldn't recommend this as a first journal, but I think it's a great piece of stationery for anyone who really loves journaling and likes it to look good. I didn't spring for this journal until I was sure that I could afford it, that I was going to use it, and that it was going to be worth my money, so I did a lot of research and preparation. Now I'm going to show you the backs of all these materials set against each other. Please excuse the shaky camera. I have unsteady hands, I don't know what to tell you. I want to show you how these 4 look next to each other, just so you can see the difference for yourself, so you can see them right next to each other in the same lighting in the same exact space. I think the differences really speak for themselves, and you'll be able to see it here. So, just to drive the nail into the coffin a little bit farther for the Leuchtturm, I want to show you exactly the beef that I had with some of the pages.
You can see when I do the pen test on this that the bleed through is pretty heavy. In fact, you can see even the pencil through the page. And I write pretty hard. I write pretty aggressively because I'm an aggressive person. And I have a lot of feelings and I take them out on my journal. And you can tell from the other side of the page what other spreads I've done. And I don't like that. I want to be able to flip through and not see what the page on the back of it is. There have been times in this notebook where I have glued pages together, or I have glued in a collage just to cover up the fact that this paper bleeds so heavily with almost any medium you use. So for someone who likes to color, for someone who likes to fill the pages with huge blocks of text, this was just really disappointing to me. You could see through the pages, you could see the mistakes, you could see the writing that you made, sometimes clear enough to read it from the other side if you're able to read backwards, which, not to brag, I am. I would leave blank pages in between spreads to hopefully hide that bleed through, which was just a waste of paper for me. I was just really disappointed with how thin this paper is, especially considering how much everyone in the bullet journal community lauds this journal. Honestly, I'm happy with the art that I've made in here, but for my everyday use, I a lot of times dreaded making spreads in this journal. I couldn't always express myself properly because I was afraid to color too much, or afraid to do too heavy of a collage, or afraid to really write to my heart's desire because I knew that it would ruin the other side of the page. And that would be really frustrating to me. As someone who uses this every day, I don't really want to waste pages, and this guy has lasted me a good 6 months. It has done its job, but I haven't made all of the things that I wanted to in it. I'm happy with the art that I've created. I'm happy in the way that this has taught me to problem solve, but I will not be purchasing this again just because the paper quality is not thick enough for me.
I hope that you've enjoyed me ranting about stationery supplies and that perhaps that this video has helped you pick out your next bullet journal. Drop any questions in the comments below and I'll give them an answer. Thanks. Bye.